Sisters, and Gordon has a background in earthworks, quarries, heavy machinery, construction of pools, and manufacture of spas, and he found his way into the perlite industry. So, Gordon Pearce.
Great, thank you very much. Morning everyone, glad to see you all here. As you can see, I'm from New Zealand and we're just a small island just out that way, not far. Takes us about 3 hours to get here, so I haven't come far at all. Basically, our company's made up of two main divisions. There's us at the top, obviously, up in New Zealand, and then the other part of us is Australian Perlite here. Both are privately owned by the same family, and in New Zealand we actually operate a quarry, a perlite quarry, along with pumice and sand quarries as well. So we sort of cover all bets because being so small, our market's small, and we've got to have everything. So that's us. In Australia here, obviously, tomorrow you'll be doing a tour, so you'll get to see what they do. So I'll stay off that subject and leave that for Andy. So basically, New Zealand's a very small country, 4.5 million people, more sheep than anyone else. And our main business there is we export. And we export mainly the meat, the wool, dairy, forestry and fisheries, and a little bit of perlite. So it's made up into two islands. The majority of the North Island is where our biggest dairy is, but in recent years there's been a huge lot of development in this area here. So there's a lot of dairy farming new being set up in this area, where traditionally it was always sheep. But dairy is the way, and this is where Fonterra are based, the world's largest dairy conglomerate, and they operate factories right down through now, new factories in this area here, right the way down to the South Island, just to process our dairy. We live here, and that spot there is where our perlite quarry is. So you can see wherever way we go, we've got a long way to get it to water. That's the only deposit of perlite in New Zealand is there. The two quarries in that location. And there is another island just up there, which is a lot of perlite, but we can't get to it because all the green people won't allow us. They reckon it's too dangerous. So back down in the middle of the island at Atamuri is our perlite quarry. And we call it Cashmore's, and the reason for that is the road's named Cashmore, so that's what we call it. And as you can see, we're 250 kilometres from our home base, where we process the ore. And a little bit about the area, it's 40 kilometres north of Taupo, which is a huge lake, and one of the last explosions or volcanic activities that was seen, and it's even recorded, I think when it happened in China, the glow from the actual explosion was noted way back in some scriptures somewhere. So over that 27,000 year period, there are so-called 28 eruptions, and we've ended up with our perlite quarry. And we've been mining perlite in New Zealand, as you can see, for 60 years. It's on the same spot, so the resource is huge. If you can imagine a teardrop, we're at the very bottom of the teardrop, and it goes for kilometres around in a big circle, so there's a lot of resource left. So we've hardly touched it, and we run a 45-metre working face from there to there, and there's 3 benches all the way down. And this is one of the youngest deposits in the world, so our ore is sort of really suited for cryogenics. It pops really lovely, it's cheap to pop, and it stays fluffy, but there's some areas where it's not so good in, and we stay away from that. So that's why Australian Perlite bring in ore from Turkey and Greece and that for the filter aids and that type of thing. It'd be nice if our ore could do that. I'd love it to do that, and then we wouldn't need Turkey. But, so just down the road, 15 kilometres further south, we have a sand and pumice quarry. This has been operated for quite a number of years now, and from there we separate our pumice out of the sand faces and sell off sand and the metals, and we go into a very wide range of industries. Pumice goes into lightweight concrete panels, goes into horticulture mixes. The big chunkier stuff ends up going to a lot of farms, so it ends up being the farm raceways, so the cow's got something nice and soft to walk on. Sand, the sand goes off, we process that, it ends up in plastering companies, it ends up as a filter media for water, for swimming pools. It ends up in concrete, so we sell to concrete plants, so that's mixed into a concrete, so it's a very high quality, well-graded sand, and the only reason we can't sell it to everybody is the distance again is the governing factor. New Zealand's got a lot of sand. Now, this is back up in Auckland, Waitakere Ranges, and I've got a sort of a big site there, it's 5 acres, and we operate 24/7, well we had been operating 24/7, but with some recent plant upgrading and playing around, we can cut that back now, and we've now got flexibility, so we can increase or decrease production accordingly. And if someone came along and gave me a big order for a whole lot of containers, we just turn it up a bit and we'll be able to produce them in a short period of time. So we have about 16, 17 guys working there, and we load the containers straight from there, and they just off down the wharf and off wherever they end up going, mainly into Asia. So next one here is Perlite. Lovely stuff. I mean, 3 years ago I knew nothing about Perlite, but absolutely fantastic what it can be used for. And I'm finding new industries every day. In New Zealand, because we're so small, we're a master of all sorts of markets. So in one day I can visit a foundry. Next door I go to a greenhouse. Then I'll call into a plastering company. Then I'll stop in the local swimming, talk about filtration, and then go and see a winemaker. So, and that's just in one day. So with the product being able to go into so many places, it's absolutely amazing. And we're having good success in New Zealand, and spill response companies are starting to get onto it now. We sell very fine grades into dismantlers, engine dismantlers, car dismantlers are metal people, and they always got mess on the floor, and they use this stuff to clean up and keep the places nice. The biggest competition we have in New Zealand in horticulture obviously is pumice, rockwool, oil, and we've got a lot of companies that actually make up mixes for the growers and put them into bags and whatever, and the main product used to aerate is pumice. Lucky we've got a pumice quarry, but it's very hard to get them to look at perlite, and it's all down to a cost factor. I mean, a lot of energy goes into popping perlite, as you know. Pumice, we just drag it out the ground, wash it, and give it to them in a truck. It's pretty simple stuff. Vermiculite, we're fortunate being associated with Australian Perlite here. We get our vermiculite already exfoliated from here, take it across there. I just have it in the store, and we just sell it. The bags around everybody, and it's working very well. It's just with the new resources and the new quality vermiculates that we've got available, we're really making some inroads. Right, export from New Zealand. Main focus for our production, we export, obviously, Asia's our market. We're close enough to Asia to be competitive. Any further north than that, and our shipping costs limit us to how much we can put up there. But there you can see over the perlite oil production in tonnes over the years, and we're slowly getting more and more and more as people get to know that our product does really work, especially in cryogenics. Cryogenic applications. The guys that do cryogenics will know what that means. But as you can see, we've got our loose bulk density is pretty light compared to lots of other grades available, and our markets we've been now expanding into, they've had some really good jobs being done in India and Malaysia, Australia. And our oil's very good for the pipe insulators, so we do very well in the pipe insulation business because it's a very good lightweight product when it's done. And the main grades that we do, as you can see, are very fine. We have O2 is our finest grade, and we jump up to an O5 grade for the cryogenic work, and that's the main two sizes. The other area we do have a reasonable amount of success in it is in the foundries, but of course New Zealand we haven't got many foundries, so we have to look offshore for foundries, and the biggest areas are up into Korea and Taiwan and places like that. And as we have a good range of all graded that suit a lot of foundry work, and by the time it gets there and it's priced right, it works pretty good. It's not too bad. You see, we've got quite a wide spectrum. We're fortunate insofar as being a factory of our size, we can increase or decrease fractions to suit anybody's application. So if you've got a particular need for a certain fraction, we can do it. We just change screens, play around with the plant a bit, and that's what we'll produce. If you have a certain spec you want. It all depends on volume, of course. And of course then we just pack it in in customers' bagging if they want, our bagging, and multiple sizes and pallet sizes. So our processing is developed, so have our markets. As you can see, we have flexibility to, as I said before, to increase or decrease our production rates, especially with our new plant. And we've just, in recent months, converted from diesel, which was our primary resource material, and we've gone to gas, so we're on natural gas now. And our prices aren't too bad compared to Australian gas prices, and we're winning there, and we have more control over it, which has allowed us to sort of get a bit more competitive. As you can see, we have a massive resource and with a very high quality perlite. I don't know why else Bill's highlighted there, but there we are, just right down the bottom. Oh, finished. That was quick. So if anyone's got any questions about New Zealand other than perlite, I'm happy to answer them. But while you're over here, rugby players?
Don't mention that.
They go without mentioning. They're good guys. I won't mention Perr's Cup.
All right, so how light is your pumice?
How light?
Yes.
It depends on the grade, but a fraction, say 7 mil to 20 mil fraction runs around about 730, 740 kilos per cube. So it's pretty light. And that has a 10 to 15% stone content in it. So when we eventually get it classified, we'll take the stone out and that will lower it even more.
How is it used in horticulture?
In horticulture, it's used in mixes. So we deliver truck and trailers to various companies that design mixes for the growers. So it's mixed and they send it out in full truck and trailer loads once it's mixed. So it's mixed with peat, bark, and just helps aerate the soil and keep it light, fluffy, and yeah. The very fine grades of pumice we do propagation, a lot for propagation. We do some very fine pumices. I do a very clean 1 mil to 2 mil fraction. So it's very tight fraction, and the propagators like that because they just goes in the pots, nothing else. They put their starting sticks in there and away it goes.
Is it used as a standalone substrate in hydroponics?
No,
How
no, not by itself. I don't know the reasoning why. No one's ever sort of got to it. Hydroponics traditionally is we sell as perlite, but mainly vermiculite into hydroponic people, starting their seedlings. But once they get into the trays, they don't use it anymore. So, unfortunately, it'd be nice if they did. So we've got a lot of pumice. So yeah, it just goes. We just put it anywhere that people want.
Is it inert? I mean, is it a pH neutral, or I mean, how's it
Yeah.
compared to perlite?
It's all pH neutral, yeah. It's so close to the perlite family. In actual fact, you know, the perlite and the pumice quarries are within 15 kilometres of each other, and there's pumice all through the right-hand side of the New Zealand. You can get it almost anywhere. People dig holes in their farm backyards, and the next minute they got pumice, and the next minute you've got another competitor. So it's very competitive, the pumice business.
Do you expand the pumice?
Perlite?
Yeah, the
Yes, we-
pumice. Do you expand?
No, no.
No.
Pumice is just simply, our pumice is alluvial, so it's very strong.
Very
We
fine.
just basically dig it out of a face, out of a working face, right next to the Waikato River, and from there we just wash screen it and screen it through different sizes, cut the different fractions off and put in the big stockpiles and let it drain down, and that's it. And then it just goes out. Pumice is used in masonry blocks, 50%. So all the masonry concrete blocks have a half pumice content, which means the guys laying the blocks can just pick them up one hand, they're not that heavy, and they're still very strong. So yeah, we do a lot of pumice for that. A lot of pumice goes into lightweight panels, concrete panels. Increases the R value. The codes and R values have changed so much recently that where you could build a panel 125 mil, now they've changed the R value that the same panel, the same density, you've got to make it 250 mil wide. Well, when they do that, it gets very heavy, so now they're looking for lightweight materials, so pumice has filled that spot. So now we've got panels that are 250 wide, most of it's pumice, and it's quite light, so they can actually crane it up, and it just reduces the amount of foundation work they've got to do for buildings.
You mentioned the pipe insulation. Is it with a binder like water glass, or is it loose fill?
The pipe insulation, we just send the product offshore to a couple of companies that turn it into an insulated pipe, a fixed pipe, you know, which is just clamped around the pipe.
Gordon?
Yeah.
On the 9,000 tons, how many tons for your own use?
Sorry?
On the 9,000 tons of production? How many tons for your own use?
For our own use?
Yes.
Oh, minuscule. I wouldn't have a clue how much we actually use.
200, a couple hundred tons?
Yeah, it's not a lot.
No.
No. We don't, in New Zealand we don't have any use for the perlite ore. There's no one requiring the ore as such apart from the odd little foundries. And the other part we actually expanded ourselves for the horticulture market and plastering companies and stuff like that, yeah. So, no, we don't have a lot of use for the ore in New Zealand itself. Great, well thank you very much for your time, and if you guys have got any spare time, come across and see us, we'll take you around. Have a great day.